Do you want to be up to your eyeballs in plants? Yeah, you do. This is what happens when you leave seed starting to chance. And this is what happens when you control the environment like a pro. After years in the greenhouse, I've simplified the process to my proven 3-station plan. With a mini greenhouse inside, you are able to control all the factors successful seedlings require. Today, we're setting up station 1 of 3. This is a system that you can use from start to finish that I've developed over a number of seasons. I've tested lots of methods, and my proven 3 system starts with the container setup itself. First, let's talk cups. You might be tempted to use peat pots or biodegradable fiber cups, maybe reuse some egg cups, fiber egg cups. I would strongly advise against them for 2 reasons. While they do seem convenient, these cups will wick away water from the seeds and they will stay moist before the soil gets moist. Also, with a permanently wet cup, mold and mildew will have a perfect breeding ground. Instead, I stick to durable plastic trays and containers. They're reusable for years, very easy to sanitize and clean, and they are great with moisture retention. My core container is the multi-cell tray. This is the key to efficiency. For seeds that hate transplanting, I jump to a 21 cell like this. For many other seeds like annuals and things that aren't that picky, I may use a standard 50 cell tray. You can also go to your big box store and swipe these guys. If you wanted to ask, but they're just gonna throw them away. Whether it's a standard cup, standard plastic cup, reusable cup, a larger cup, or even these, every cell you use must have holes in the bottom. No drainage means that the roots will sit in stagnant water, which leads to damping off. This is a fungal disease that will kill your seedlings. Finally, to complete the cup system, use a watering tray. This is a solid, no holes bottom. The solid shallow tray isn't just for catching spills, it allows for bottom watering. And this has been a game changer for me. Watering the top of your seedlings is a recipe for disaster. You simply pour water into the tray and the seeds' roots will absorb water as they need it through the bottom. So we've got the containers ready to go, but they're just plastic shells without the right fuel. Now we move on to the actual growing medium. Over the years, I've found that you can approach growing medium at 3 different levels depending on the time that you have to invest in this and the room that you have. The easiest way to start is with a quality pre-bagged seedling starter mix. And let me tell you, I've had really great success with Miracle-Gro's seedling starter mix for 4 seasons. This is what I started with when I didn't really know what I was doing, and I thought, well, seedling starting mix, that sounds pretty good. And it really was. It's light, airy, and most importantly, it's sterile. This means that there's no weed seeds or soil-borne diseases that can threaten seedlings' lives. I do have one complaint with this. There's a fair amount of detritus in it. There's twigs and sticks that don't belong there. Number 2 is your second option. This is the level up mix. Once you get comfortable growing seedlings, you will likely want to start customizing it a little bit. This is where you level up your mix's aeration and moisture management. We start with a good quality standard potting mix. You amend it with 2 key ingredients, perlite and vermiculite. Perlite is a type of volcanic glass, and when you add it, you're adding permanent voids, permanent air pockets. Tiny seedling roots desperately need that air and that room to breathe and to grow. Vermiculite is a mineral that kind of acts like a sponge, is a champion at managing the moisture that's in the soil. It tends to absorb any excess moisture, but when it dries out, it releases the excess moisture for the roots. The third option, very briefly, which I alluded to, I'm not going to talk about much, is the Garden Geeks blend. This is for total control, but I'm going to cover what makes a really good customized mix in a future video. That's not for now. Let's get down to some sowing seeds. I've learned that it's easiest and it's best for you to pre-moisten the mix before you put it into the cups. Pre-moistening your mix doesn't really call for any kind of magic formula. Ideally, you want to squeeze the mix so that it kind of holds its shape but you don't want it to be dripping. Sowing depth. There's a rule of thumb. You submerge the seed into the top of the medium twice the thickness of the seed itself. Now, when you start working with tiny little speck seeds, the rule is, and the best practice with these tiny speck seeds is just to press the seeds into the surface of the soil. The reason for this is that most of the speck seeds, they actually need a little bit of light to germinate. So they need a little bit of light exposure. And if you cover them, they're not going to get that. And after you've sown the seeds into their cups, I like to settle them into their new medium by giving them a nice misting. Sowing teeny tiny seeds, and it's hard to regulate the amount of seeds that you put in every cup. Try this method. I use a fork, wet the 4 tines, and then dip the wet tines into the little seed pile. Then run the fork and run the tines across the surface of the medium. Put in too many seeds, this is a little too much of I'm gonna have to thin these out. Okay, so now that we've built the perfect bed with our seedling centric medium, the next piece of my proven 3-step system is creating the ideal microclimate for your seedlings. So this section is all about the environment: heat, light, and air. When you're using mini greenhouses, the first factor that you control, one of the most important factors, is moisture. And you do that right away using a humidity dome. It's critical during the first few weeks of your seeds growth because the humidity dome helps to keep the soil consistently warm, consistently moist, and this helps with making the perfect environment to help wake up your seeds. As soon as these little green sprouts show up, even if it's just a few, 2 or 3 of these had little sprouts in them, it's time to take off the humidity dome, whether or not you are seeing sprouts on the other cups. They'll catch up. But refer to your specific seed growing information. Humidity dome has done its job, and it's now to be taken out of the picture. So the key to the next phase is consistency, and the best way to encourage a deep, strong root system is to bottom water. This means filling the tray underneath and letting the soil wick the water up. This method encourages the little baby roots to grow strong and grow down. The next consideration is heat, and this is where quite a few gardeners go wrong. Seeds germinate best with bottom heat, which is why we use heat mats and thermostats. What we're concerned with is the soil temperature, not the ambient temperature. The sunny windowsill might feel really warm for an hour or 2 or 3, and then they'll get cold, and that's inconsistent, and that's no good. This is when you really need some thermometers. I like to use, this is the little readout, and this is the temperature probe that you put into the center, a center cell. You can use gardeners' horticultural thermometers as well. These are really good for taking spot checks. And I would strongly urge you that you get grow mats that have a thermostat dial or some sort of temperature control. Getting heat mats that you plug in and provide 1 level of heat is not going to do it. Once you see the first set of true leaves, this is actually the second set after the baby leaves, it's time to turn the heat off. Here's the first set of baby leaves. These are the cotyledons, and these higher leaves are the mature shaped leaves. They usually almost always look a little different. Once you see the second set of leaves developing, that's when it's time to remove the heat. We need to focus on light exposure to prevent dreaded legginess. Leggy seedlings stretch desperately for more light. They will not transplant successfully. The fix for this is immediate, and you'll probably hear about this a lot. You position your LED grow lights right above the seedlings. Now this applies to LED grow lights. LEDs generate and emit almost no heat, so they're only getting the light waves that they need. For most grow lights, you want the light canopy to be 2 to 4 inches above the tops of the seedlings. A very critical warning, though, is that this distance only works for LEDs. Halogen and incandescent bulbs give off a lot more heat, and they will fry your plants real quick. Regarding your light's daily operation schedule, a predictable schedule of light and dark helps your seedlings grow strong. I really recommend using really simple plug-in timers that you can control. You can control the lights. It's usually recommended that you set your timer to run the lights for 12, 14, 16 hours a day. And finally, the airflow is a factor that is sometimes forgotten and ignored by a lot of gardeners. The airflow factor is crucial for two reasons. Air movement is vital for preventing disease like damping off, which thrives in still and humid conditions. You keep the surface of your soil dry and inhospitable to bad fungi and mold and mildew. Second, however, the moving air kind of toughens up the young stems. These plants are going to be going outside in a number of weeks where the environment is unpredictable. They do need to experience a little bit of motion, a little bit of sway. And what the swaying motion does, courtesy of the fans, is it helps the stems to build a little bit of strength and to mimic the conditions they're going to experience outside. I like to open up my zippered greenhouses often, direct a small electric fan to the greenhouse for a few hours a day. You just want to keep it on a low setting so that they sway gently. You don't want to push them over with your airflow. Just if you see the leaves fluttering, perfect. Chapter 3, timing and selection. Even the best mini greenhouse setup won't help if you plant them at the wrong time. You want to get your seedlings ready to thrive outside just as the weather is perfect for them at that stage. A good source that provides historical horticultural data for you to look up your thread of last frost date is plantmaps.com. What you do is you mark that date on a calendar, go back 6 weeks, and then mark that earlier date as the time that you can start your seeds indoors. Why 6 weeks? This is about the fair amount of time it gives your seedlings just enough time to develop a strong root system. Always read your seed packet though. The seed company that sold you the seeds knows best, so defer to their instructions printed right on the packet. So this rule is for your hardy seeds, plants that can handle a little chill. These are not for warm weather seeds. These are for colder sowing vegetables like broccoli and kale, many perennial plant seeds, and some flowering annuals. So you've got station 1 set up and you've got a few green sprouts popping up. That is a huge win. Congratulations. I have to warn you, this is actually the most dangerous time for your seedlings. If you leave them in the humidity dome of station 1 for too long, they will get leggy, weak, or damp off completely. And don't forget to shut off the heat mats when the second set of leaves show themselves. To get them strong enough to survive out here, we have to graduate them to station 2, the growing phase. I'll show you exactly how to move them, when to move them without killing them, and how to set them up to be strong young plants right here in this next video. I'll see you in section 2, and I hope something good happens to you today.